Hello there, it's me, Adam, here again for another one of our looks into Innistrad Crimson Vow, getting into the best cards from the green and land cards here today. So yeah, let's just dive right in, part 3. Alright, so first off, we've got Cultivator Colossus, 7 mana, star, trample. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands we control. So 4 and triple green is a lot to pay, but it will be 7/7 base probably when we cast it. So that's okay. Trample, okay, but the real thing here is when it enters the battlefield, we may put a land card from our hand onto the battlefield tapped, and if we do, draw a card, repeat this process. So, essentially, in my opinion, this is a sort of combo engine. There's already a really well-known combo with this card where if you have Abundance, the enchantment that you can choose when you draw a card to choose land or non-land. You basically choose land every time and you get every single land out of your deck. So therefore you can do all sorts of crazy things with this. Draw your entire deck pretty much. Or draw the lands in your deck. If you're in a landfall style deck, this can be a very, very good finisher. Because you'll just get all the lands out of your deck and, go off and just make as many of your landfall triggers that you want to have happen all at once. So it's a very powerful card, but I do think it is fairly limited. It only really fits in decks that really care about lands. So if you're running Omnath or any of those commanders like that, those commanders that care about landfall, Marja, and whatnot, they would love a card like this because you just play this big thing. You get all your triggers of your landfalling stuff, and then you just go to town, Taddy over, and whatnot. You just draw even more cards. AC, same thing. If you're running both AC and Taddy over, you're drawing a lot of cards with this, so that can be really good. Because as well, you can draw most of the rest of your deck. Plus, even if you actually don't legitimately just win off of this, which I think you would do most of the time, then you've probably got almost all of your lands out of your deck, and you've got access to your entire deck's level of mana. So if you can't cast enough things after you've played this to win the game, there's something gone wrong. You should have enough mana by that point to be able to win, because you'll have access to upwards of 30 to 40 mana or more, depending. You might have some treasure synergies or whatnot with some of that landfall stuff. So yeah, this is a really great card, very powerful. I do think it only fits in landfall style decks though, but I still think everyone that has a deck like that wants it. I definitely think I might want it for my 4-color Omnath deck, but I'm still thinking about it right now because I don't know whether I want to put this level of a card in there, because it's just a card that says I win the game. But then again, it is 7 mana, so at 7 mana you want your cards to basically say, hey, I win the game, and it is more synergistic to what the deck wants to do. So I'm just wondering exactly what I'm going to take out, I guess, in a sense, for this. But yeah, it's also just pulling it or getting the money for it, because it is commanding a fair price right now, because there is so much hype about it, and rightly so. It's a very powerful card. Next, Glorious Sunrise. I don't know what to actually quite think about this card a little bit, but 5 mana enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you choose 1. You get a +1/+, creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample until end of turn. One of your lands can tap for essentially 3 green mana. You can draw a card if you control a creature power 3 or greater, or you can gain 3 life. The 3 life one is probably the least relevant out of these abilities. But it's still there, and it's still nice to have if you ever happen to need the life. It's there. Sometimes you just need extra life, so that can be useful. Unfortunately, for this enchantment, I just think it can do a lot of things, and maybe some people will want to use it, and I think it is good, but unfortunately, it's not as powerful as a lot of other effects, like and whatnot. So, I just don't know where this can actually. It's one of those cards. Like if it feels like it was printed like 5 years ago, or maybe 2 or 3 years ago, like before Eldraine and before like in the insane power creep of the last like 2 years happened. This seems like a card that was printed in the before time, before all that sort of happened. There's just been so much power creep in the last 2 years that I think cards like this have just like gone out of people's mind. Even these cards that are still really good and really powerful, everyone just sort of flats by them and just kind of goes, oh well, it's not as powerful as the Great Henge, or it's not as powerful as this or as that, or it's not as efficient as this or that. So, yes, at least when you cast it and you go to your combat straight away, you get the effect immediately. So that's nice, but if it said choose two, then I think that this would be really good. I think then this would be at least in the conversation for a card that people would really run. I think some people might run it again, but it's not a card that's going to show up in a large density, I think. But it is quite a good card, and I do still think we need to look at some of these cards, because it's somewhat sad, but it's somewhat one of those things. Like, if you're playing at a lower level, like than what everyone else is playing at, basically, which unfortunately is just one of those things. Everyone's sort of moved on to this much higher level of power levels, where everyone's expecting people to run their great henges and Nature's Law and things like that. Just much more efficient or more impactful cards. So, cards like this can be really good for you if you want to power down your deck. You want to get a budget Great Henge, or you want to get a Great Henge that's not quite as good or something like that, then this might be an option. So I would definitely think about it if you're looking for a card that, can do a whole bunch of things, and can give you some decent value. So, yeah, I still think it's a decent card to try to think about in your deck. Next, Hiveheart Shaman. 4 mana, 3/5, 3 and a green. Whenever it attacks, we can search our library for a basic land card of a land type that basically we don't have control of. So if we've got, plains, island, and forest, we can get a swamp or an island, what have you. So, and then we shuffle. Then we can pay 6 mana and create a 1/1 green insect creature token, but it gets X +1/+1 counters, where X is the number of basic land types among lands we control. We can only do that as a sorcery. Look, this is a 5 color, probably exclusive card, but it's a nice little like ramping dork, essentially. It's a 3/5. It doesn't have any really amazing stats, but it's got high toughness, which helps it survive combat. It can get in there for a little bit of damage, but most people are probably just going to chump block it. We don't care about that. We just want to get in this attack and, go find one of our basics, and then be able to pay 6 later on and just like make extra bodies with this. Is just like a nice upside. So it's okay. It's not amazing, but I do think it's much better when you've got those those multiple lands, especially when you just like already have all 5 like of the basic lands on the battlefield. Then you just play this. Then you can pay 6 at any time to make those 1/1s that turn into 7/7s essentially. So that's really good, getting 7 power for 7 mana. And especially if you've got things to untap your lands every turn and whatnot, this can be really powerful. So I do think that it can find some homes in some 5-color decks. It's just which ones, and it's a little bit weird that it's a human that makes insects. So that's one of those things. But, I'm sure that there'd be some decks that want to take advantage of this because it does offer fixing, some sort of kind of ramp as well. And it offers another upside in giving you those 1/1 tokens that are probably 7/7s by the time you are activating it, because you probably wouldn't activate it otherwise. But still, that's pretty decent. Yeah, so I think some people might want to think about this. Next, Ovenwalled Oddity. 4 mana, 4/4, trample and haste. Those aren't too interesting of abilities and stats and whatnot. But we can pay 7 mana, 5 and double green to transform it. And when we do, it becomes Ovenwalled Behemoth. A trample haste 8/8, and other creatures we control get +1/+1 and have trample and haste. This is pretty darn good, and I think it's pretty darn powerful. I think that the upfront investment is the small hurdle that you have to get over to get this essentially sort of semi-Craterhoof Behemoth style effect or semi-overrun style of effect. It is a big beater, and the thing is, in green, there just is not that many things that give your board mass haste. So this is one of the few things that I think every single deck that's in green needs to look at, because every single time you're sitting there with your big dumb, beaters and whatnot, it's like, oh, if only I had haste, or if only I had trample, or if only I had trample and haste, I could actually win the game. But since I don't have trample and I don't have haste, I can't get in there, or if I can get in there, people just chump block me and then nothing really happens. So basically I did nothing with my turn anyway, and all the stuff that does have trample, can't attack because it doesn't have haste. So I'm just sitting here going, okay, now someone's going to board wipe me, and now I'm in trouble, and I didn't finish the game. So this can be a really good little card to put into your deck if you find that those are some problems. It's hard to figure out, a very specific deck that this goes in, because it's not very synergistic with anything. But the fact that it's not synergistic with anything means that it can go in almost any deck, and almost any deck would be happy to have it. Yes, the upfront investment of paying 4 and then paying 7 is a lot of mana to get this effect, but unfortunately there's not that many other really amazing better options. So I do think that this can see some play in some decks. Some people will want to run it as a sort of budget Craterhoof Behemoth or whatnot. So yeah, I definitely think that this can see some play in some decks. Alright, we're going to move on to some lands now. Alright, so yeah, they have confirmed I guess I'm about to say reprint, but just start. Alright, so yeah, they have confirmed the other half of what we're calling the slow land cycle. I think that's just been the recognized name for these cards now. And some of the full arts, you can see one of them sitting up over there and whatnot. I'm not going to know the names of any of these for ages. I'm just going to keep calling it the green red slow or the green black slow or whatever. But they're all got a different name. Again, same thing as what I sort of thought with the other half of the cycle that's already come out. I think these are just fine. I think these are really great. And I always keep thinking that blue, green, and this sort of red, black, green, and whatnot, this half of the cycle sort of has the least of these sorts of lands. Mostly, I don't understand really why that is. It's so weird to think that this color pair has the least. But then you look at like red, white, and that, and it doesn't hardly have any other typed duels or whatnot. So again, that would be nice to finish off some of those things. But again, it's hard to know when they're going to be able to do that. But still, these are great cards that I'm sure everyone will be putting in their commander decks of these colors, up to probably 3 colors. I wouldn't expect many 4-color decks to play these, but I still think they're great for, like some people just don't have shocks or whatnot, and, well, this is all I've got, and sort of thing. Like, yeah, sure, again, you're not often going to see them in bigger, more colors of decks, but again, you can see them in those decks because, someone might just have them and be like, well, this is what I got. So, but anyway, yeah, we'll move on. And I do think Volderin Estate is quite good as well. You just tap it to get a colorless, or you can pay 1 life, add a mana of any color to, and only spend this to cast vampire spells. You can pay 5 to and tap it to create a blood token. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each vampire we control, so that's pretty nice. Like, if we've got a few vampires, we can just like start making blood tokens with this thing to make more and more things, and do more and more stuff. With our looting and whatnot in our vampire synergies, it's kind of like a mana confluence for vampires, I guess, or something similar to that. That's pretty nice for vampires. So if you're in a vampire deck, I think it's pretty decent. Otherwise, I don't think you want to use this because it's all about vampires. So there's mostly 3-color vampires. So like, maybe one day they'll print a 4-color or a 5-color vampire. Who knows? But the 5-color decks tend to be more generic stuff. And so do most of the 4-color decks. They more tend to be generic stuff for the most part. So, yeah, I don't really know, but maybe you never know. But this is certainly a card that can go in, 2 and 3-color decks very easily right now. So, certainly, I would think about it if you are in a vampire, heavy deck or a vampire tribal deck. So I think it's a great card. I think, though, that's pretty much it for these cards. I am just going to say that the next video I usually do would have been artifacts and multicolor cards, but I actually have gone and looked through the cards for the set, and there's just not really that much that I could consider that good. There's some okay stuff, not too amazing, not too much to really talk about. So the fourth thing that I'm going to do is just do that video that I was talking about, recapping all of the cards that are Commander exclusive cards that are in the set boosters and the bundle boxes. So yeah, that's what the last video is going to be about, the best Commander exclusive cards. Well, I don't suppose it's best, but still like the Commander exclusive cards from the set bundles and whatnot. So yeah, you can let me know what you think about this video and whatnot, your thoughts on any of the cards and whatnot that I've talked about here today. You can also tell me if on this video or on the next one whether I'm totally wrong and one of the artifacts or one of the multicolored cards is absolute bomb, and that I should have talked about it, but I don't really think there is. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one where I'm talking about the Commander exclusive cards, or I'll see you down there in the comments below. Really enjoyed talking to you guys, and I'll always try to respond to everyone. Hey, you've just finished watching one of our videos. A bunch of other videos are popping up on your screen now for you to check out, so why not check them out?